Now connecting you to the College Sports Connection podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the College Sports Connection podcast. I'm your host, Alex the Captain. Joining me, as always, AJ the Guru.
What's going on, everybody?
AJ, a new month, a new Year of Maction segment. We got a special one for everybody this week.
Yeah, so we have a special guest from my alma mater down in Muncie, Indiana, Ball State University. We have the golf coach, Mike Fleck. He's been at Ball State now 22 seasons, led Ball State to 2013 Nationals, his all-time high ranking of 20 in 2019, and he personally owns 19 tournament championships. Coach, welcome to the program.
AJ, Alex, great to be with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Of course, we're excited to get to talk about a school that I hold near and dear to my heart that I spent 4 years at, and actually drove through campus 2 weeks ago, and it's changed a lot since 2017.
It's incredible. You know, I was a student athlete here from 88 to 92, and it's changed a ton since those days. But yeah, a lot of construction, a lot of progress, beautiful campus.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome place to call home.
Absolutely. Tell you what, it's kind of bittersweet driving past La Follette and seeing that going down, because that's where I was.
It's amazing. We, my wife and I took a walk a couple weekends ago through campus, and they had the wrecking ball out there tearing one of the wings down, and yeah, it's hard to believe that thing's not going to be there. And but that's just it's a changing landscape of our campus.
Absolutely. I definitely don't blame them for taking it down. It needed to be taken down.
Yeah, I'm sure that the housing options on campus are going to go up exponentially after La Follette's gone.
Absolutely, because I was on the fourth floor, Knott's Edwards, and so I can remember, because when I was there in 2013 in that dorm, we had missed the first 2 days of the second semester because of the negative 40 wind chills and things like that. And we had those the radiator heaters in there, and so you couldn't control them. So we had those going and the windows open at the same time just to try to keep it balanced. It was so hot. And I transferred to Ball State from Vincennes, so I was already 21 in a dorm of 17 and 18-year-olds.
Yeah,
so
I don't know what you're talking about. It's 70 and sunny in Muncie every day.
Oh, gosh, I wish that was the case. But that year, because I remember, because the only 2 days I think we ever missed in my 4 years there were those two. First day of the second semester. It was brutal.
Yeah.
But luckily we got golf weather kind of now. So,
yeah, it's awesome.
I got out and played for the first time a few weeks ago, and had been a while, but, I hit them long, not always straight, but, can do what we can, right?
You know what? Bryson DeChambeau will tell you, just hit it long right now. Don't worry about anything else.
It's incredible how he's hitting the golf ball right now.
Yeah. His transformation has been pretty amazing in the golf circles.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you think when you get to like that level, are you born with that, do you think? Or is it just a little bit of, training, but that talent's just incredible.
I think you're born with a certain skill set and a little bit of coordination, but he totally transformed his body and reworked the way that he plays the game relative to picking up that speed. And there's nobody on the planet right now that's doing what he's doing, with the exception of those long drive guys. But he's playing the sport, not executing a certain element of it. So it's I think what he's doing is going to kind of change the way that people look at the game, much like Tiger Woods did, back in that time frame where he was working out and getting ripped, and so everybody started getting in the gym, and I think you'll see a little shift with what Bryson's doing if he can sustain it.
Absolutely, and that's actually one thing I did want to talk about, so we can talk about it now, is kind of the trend of golf, because you see some of these guys like Bryson and Brooks Koepka, these guys are just hitting the ball a mile long. And do you see kind of the trend of golf as in whole kind of getting younger? Because we see so many of these younger guys dominating the tour, and Jordan Spieth included.
Yeah, not only getting younger, but way more powerful. it's all about club head speed. It's all about ball speed. It's, how far can you carry the ball? It's, I don't know where it's going to go, whether the equipment is going to kind of make a little bit of a shift back, or we're just going to build 8,000 plus yard golf courses. But it's a young person's game. And I think even if you look at the LPGA Tour, some of your driving leaders are some of your younger players. And, Brooke Henderson, Jessica Korda, people like that. So it's definitely turning into an athletic type sport. And you see more and more athletic type people having success playing the game.
And I heard an interview not too long ago with Brooks about he doesn't practice. He just shows up to the course and just plays. Yeah. And it just, for me, I have to be, the saying is a long walk from the driving range to the first tee. Well, I have to be at the driving range. I've got to work on my stuff. I've got to play a practice round or two on a course so I can understand it. But some of these guys are just walking out there, crushing it, and playing phenomenal golf. And that, like we talked about, I think that will be the trend going forward.
And it's tough as a coach to listen to Brooks say that, because you want your guys practicing, you want them out there working and spending time on the range. But you know what? I think with Brooks and right now with Bryson, they are swinging as hard as they can, and they know where the ball's going. So why? What's the difference?
And it's going straight.
Yeah. So what's the difference between doing that for hours on a range and then going out and executing in a tournament environment, or not doing it in a practice mode, but still being able to go out and do it in tournament mode. So his recipe seems to work too.
It does. But what did you think of the match a few weeks ago?
Interestingly enough, I didn't get a chance to watch a whole lot of it. But I kind of tuned in on all the after round coverage. And, I think the biggest thing, a couple things that I took away from it, it would be so cool if more golfers were mic'd. And we heard some of that live, in round conversation and talk. And, the other Peyton Manning's a gamer. Like he's, it's amazing, to watch him. Those were tough conditions. Those conditions were like us playing in Toledo or Muncie in the spring. Rain, wind, just not conducive to playing well. And I was impressed with what Peyton Manning did.
Absolutely. And I felt like I should have paid Phil Mickelson for that golf lesson he gave us. I don't know if you saw that part or not.
Was that the little shot that he had off the edge of the green?
Yeah. It was incredible. He made it so easy for even the most amateur golfer to understand. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go pick up my wedge now and hit the putting greens, because it was so simple.
Typical Phil. He gave a 5-minute explanation of what he was going to do that took 2 seconds to execute, and he executed it perfectly.
Exactly.
Well, and I thought it was really interesting with like how he was even telling Brady, like, hey, you're going to need to do this, and this is why. And he walked him through every little step.
Yeah.
That, AJ said it so well. I should have paid for that, because that's easily a day at the course. I'd spend all day figuring that out, and Phil's like, all right, it's ABC, go do it. Like, just simple.
Right. And that's the thing with this sport. There's so many moving parts, with a golf swing. If you can just keep it as simple as you can and eliminate movement, chances are a lot, they go up a lot higher that you're going to hit solid shots, whether it's a long drive or a 10-yard chip shot off the edge of the green. If you can just get it solid, you're going to enjoy the game a lot more. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's, I grew up with a dad who golfed quite avidly. And so I was every Friday night on a free kid night at the local golf course. We were out there playing, and he was coaching me, probably nowhere near what you have with your guys at Ball State, but he was just constantly coaching me, constantly telling me this, that, and the other. And I look back on that, and that's something that I'm going to have for the rest of my life, even if it wasn't proper coaching. It's, it's that memory, and just golf is such an easy sport to learn. It's so difficult to master.
Yeah, without question. And, I go back to growing up with my dad, and all my best memories, involve being with my dad on a golf course. And, sometimes I played well, sometimes I didn't, but, I remember that time spent with my dad, and like you referenced, that's, you can't replace those memories.
Sure. So let's get into that. What kind of your introduction to golf? Was it through your dad, your grandpa, things like that kind of made you fall in love with it?
Yeah, no, it was through my dad. Like I said, growing up in Batesville, we were fortunate to be members at the local country club, Hillcrest Country Club there in Batesville. I remember probably 4 or 5 year old range. Just bugging my dad to just go out and walk around with his group, during his weekend game. And finally, I think after begging him enough, he let me go. And then, then it stepped up to where I pestered him enough to, hey, Dad, give me a 7-iron and let me make a swing or two. And so he would do that. And then finally it kind of worked in, to me building up to being able to play. And so I had a club in my hands probably at the age of 4 or 5. As I got older, I played some more sports. I played a lot of baseball growing up, but then I got to, that junior high school phase, and I was the short guy. So, and the small guy. And back then, those guys didn't play football or basketball. I was going to get beat up big time playing football, and I was too small to play basketball. So I gravitated towards golf back in a time frame when golf wasn't really popular, and just stuck with it. And it was something that I really enjoyed and had a little luck, being successful with it. And it just stuck.
It's so funny you bring that up because I've been playing since I was 4 or 5. My dad and my grandpa introduced me to the game. Played through high school, but I played football also. Yeah. So I was one of the only guys who did play football and golf at the same time, because it's just something you don't see very often. I'm a bigger guy. I was a defensive lineman, but I could hit the ball 290 off the tee. So everything else was crap, but my drives were great. But I was the same way. Fell in love with the golf at the early age and still plays. Try to as much as I can now. It's a little harder anymore, especially during quarantine, trying to get out and play a couple more rounds here and there. Yeah, and I know you guys had the MAC tournament at Sycamore Hills, right? Not too long ago.
We were scheduled to come back up to Sycamore. We played the championship 2 years ago there, and we were scheduled to go back up in the spring. Luckily, hopefully, if everything falls into place next year, we're just going to go back in the spring of 2021. Okay. So we'll hopefully be back up there. I've got a former teammate and a good friend of mine, Tim Frazier, who's a golf professional there, and Sycamore Hills is probably at or near the top of my list as far as my favorite courses in the state of Indiana. It's a Nicklaus design, and it's a beautiful golf course.
I live about 2 miles from it, so I'm just down the street here in Illinois Road. But I play Chestnut every once in a while, which is essentially right across the street, and that's a beautiful course also. It's tough.
Fort Wayne's got a lot of good golf courses.
Yeah, Sycamore is my next bucket list to play, because I've driven back there a few times and seen it. It looks challenging, that's for sure.
Yeah, the drive up is pretty cool, going through those, through the 2 lines of sycamore trees, and then all of a sudden you kind of hit the clubhouse and see the golf course and stuff. And it's one of those cool drives in golf.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's super awesome. So you obviously you said you played all the way through high school, all the way growing up. That transition to Ball State, what was that transition for you kind of like as a student athlete, going from playing against 16 to 18-year-olds to now you're playing 19 to 22-year-olds?
Yeah, I tell you what, I was young and dumb and had no clue. I remember, so I came on my recruiting trip with my dad, and we went around campus, and we went to a golf course. AJ, Cardinal Hills. Yep. Was one of our home courses back then, because the Players Club wasn't there. And Coach Yestingsmeyer, our former coach, carried big rosters. So there was like 21, 25 guys on the team my first couple of years. But anyway, I came up, went around campus, went back to his office, and sitting with my dad, and he's instead of saying, hey, what's campus like? What do you like? Are you interested? Like he told me, hey, Fleck, I don't think you're good enough to play here, but a guy named Paul Bessler seems to think you are, so I'm going to give you a chance. And I remember getting in the car, going home, and my dad's like, well, what do you think? And I'm like, man, I just can't wait to get there, even though, Coach doesn't believe in me and doesn't think that I should be here. So it ended up, I got here, played well enough in the initial qualifier to play in my very first tournament, which was at Prestwick. I think it was maybe the Indiana Intercollegiate, and shot probably, 75 to 80 for 3 rounds, and came back from that tournament, got in the qualifying again, earned a spot back in the top 5. But when I went to Coach's office to see if I made the next trip, my name wasn't on the board. And, I was pissed. And I think, I was thinking, man, I'm getting screwed over. Like, I earned my spot back. And I remember calling my dad and being really upset. And my dad was like, hey, you got two options. You either, work harder and play better, or you take your golf bag and the shirts that he gave you back to him and say, thanks for the opportunity, but this isn't for me. And that kind of stuck. And I remember talking to Coach many, many years after that singular experience. And I asked him, I'm like, Coach, do you remember that? And he said, yeah, I remember. And I said, why didn't I get that opportunity? He says, I just didn't trust you. You were a freshman, you came, you played in that first tournament, you did okay, but you didn't earn my trust yet in the lineup, to consistently go out and play at the level that we need, guys to play at. So those two things, that conversation with my dad and just that little experience where, Coach knew that I had a lot more to learn and a lot more to do, really kind of changed my approach, with how I coach our guys. So I wasn't a big fish in a small pond in Batesville. I came up here to Ball State and I was a really small fish in a big pond. And it took me quite some time to adjust, to the, not only to the golf, but to the life lessons that the coach was teaching us. And, all that stuff when you're, 17, 18, 19-year-old, you think you know everything. And I was certainly of that mindset, and I didn't know jack.
Sure. So when you say you were young and dumb, you weren't spending too much time in the chug, were you?
You know what? No, I will say this in all honesty. I was kind of, I didn't break a lot of rules. I stuck to the rules. So, yeah, I don't know how far I can go with that if my guys listen to this, because I may lose some credibility. But I went to the chug, but I made sure I was 21.
There you go.
There we go. There you go.
Because that whole area on campus too is one thing that's changed dramatically. I mean, it doesn't look any like it was when I was there in 13. I mean, of course, it's all gone. I mean,
they wiped it all out and put up that village promenade in Dill Street. Yeah. Relocated and eventually closed down, but the chug still remains.
That'll never go away. It's my place.
It's the one staple, and I don't know if I've been in there for years, but I hear walking down to into that dungeon environment hasn't changed much.
No, not at all. My college roommate was a bouncer there, and so he was there for 3 years, and it was the same thing. It will continue to be the same thing.
Yeah.
But that was fun. Like I said, when I drove through campus, checking that out. But I was on my way back from Indianapolis, and I go, all right, we got to take a detour through campus. I'm going to go check it out. But my main reason was stopping at Concannon's and getting some baked goods. I haven't had it in 3 years. It's killer.
Yeah. Well, being on quarantine, you get a little bit bored. And I've got a 15-year-old daughter, and she's had some sleepovers, and I've made many runs to Concannon's to get them breakfast in the morning. So, and I've snuck a donut in or two myself.
You have to. You have to. Now, is the Players Club your guys' home course?
We split time between the Players Club and Delaware Country Club. So we'll go out to Delaware a few days a week, and then we'll go to the Players Club the other day. So,
because I played Players a few times. It's a beautiful course.
Yeah, very, very nice. More of a modern type style golf course, where Delaware is kind of your traditional, old style country club. So it's kind of nice that they contrast each other a little bit and gives us a couple of different looks when we play on both of them.
Sure. So we talked a little bit about your recruiting through Ball State and things like that. Now, as a coach, how do you go about recruiting golfers? Because it is such an individual sport. Are you just kind of following them while they're playing? Are you watching film? You checking out their techniques, things like that? So kind of what do you look at?
Yeah, what attracts all of us golf coaches are scores in the 60s. So, when you see kids shooting 67, 68, 69s, you're going to pay attention. But, we watch – I try to watch guys a lot. I say this when I go to some of the college golf seminars and stuff, but I kind of enjoy the opportunity to see kids struggle a little bit, because it really shows you what they're made of. If they're going to fight and grind and try to save shots and maybe, the 80 is a score that, if they can shoot 78, 79 and not give up shots and kind of fight, I like to see that mentality a little bit more than hey, today's not my day. I'm going to piss away some shots, and it doesn't matter whether I shoot 76 or 80. Because in our environment, when you're counting 4 scores of 5 players, you need all those guys fighting for each and every shot, and every shot becomes so important. So, we try to watch guys play quite a bit. Obviously when they're playing well, everything's going good and it seems easy, but when they're struggling, you really kind of want to see what they're made of. And in addition to that, maybe how they're treating their fellow competitors, how they're treating their parents, how they're treating the rules officials, the scorers. Attitude is so important with all sports, but you really have to have a sound head on your shoulders, if you want to play golf at a competitive level and try to be successful. And, that's what we try to identify when we watch kids play.
Now, how big of an advantage is it having the new golf facility? Because I drove past it, looks incredible.
It's a game changer for us. It has all the bells and whistles. It's got all the technology, a short game area, locker rooms, player lounge, team meeting space. But, most importantly, it's a place to call home. We've never really had that on-campus place to where the guys can go and hang out and have some fellowship and, work on their games and improve their craft. And, it's a blessing that we were fortunate enough to have the donors behind us with this project and being able to name it after our former coach is kind of a lifelong legacy to the tradition that he built here. But it's a really nice facility, and shame on you if you come here and you can't get better with a place like that on our campus.
Sure.
No, that's super cool. And I think it's, like you said, it's a testament to your former coach to have that facility named after him. It looks like, just a cursory search of what he did for Ball State. He's the father of the program almost. And it's a really neat thing to see what kind of legacy he left, and to kind of see how you guys are continuing that.
Yeah, Alex, you nailed it on the head. I mean, he's the father of Ball State golf, and he coached for 36 years, and here I am, going on year 23, and everything that revolves around Ball State golf has his signature on it and his stamp, and it's we've been lucky to be able to kind of continue to recruit the same type of kids that he had in his program when he was coaching and I was playing, and we just look for quality young men that have a value system to represent, not just our golf program, but Ball State and the Ball State family at the highest level. And he means a lot to us. And it's awesome to have his name on the building. It's awesome to host tournaments in his memory and honor. And I just I have a fond place in my heart for Coach, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here.
So let's talk about you being now the head coach, coming from being a pro at Hickory Hills. How does the Ball State head golf coach come about?
I got dumb lucky, AJ. I was a golf pro at Hickory Hills, which is just outside of Muncie, and I was like a lot of the guys that played for Coach. We just thought he was going to coach forever. Like it was his program. He was, nobody ever talked about the concept of who's going to take Coach's place, when he's finished, because we all thought he's never going to finish. And it ended up that we were hosting some Ball State functions at the golf course I was working at, and Coach had some health issues and could no longer serve in the capacity that the school was wanting him to do it. It's interesting. He was a golf coach. He was a ticket manager in the athletic ticket office, and he was a sports information director all at the same time.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you try to throw that out at somebody today, and there's 6 positions in sports info. There's 5 guys in the ticket office. There's a golf coach and assistant golf coach. And but anyway, I just happened – there were 2 gentlemen. There was a guy named Arno Wittig, who was the dean of our honors college, and a guy named Neil Schmotlak, who ran our physical human performance lab. And they were connected to the golf program, friends of Coaches, and they just one day in one of the function outings that we were hosting said, would you have any interest in coaching the team? And I'm like, yeah, but I mean, I got no chance. I had 0 coaching experience. The only thing that I had going for me was I played for the program and I knew some people. And lo and behold, I went through the interview process and got the job. And, honestly, I have no clue what I would be doing now if I wasn't coaching the Ball State golf program. So timing's everything. I got lucky. I got the job, and I love every minute of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It seems like Ball State runs very deep in your family. I mean, your wife is also a Ball State grad, both with her bachelor's and her master's, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So is your daughter going to go to Ball State?
You know what? She better, because I'm banking on that tuition remission to help us out. But I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. She's she's a decent little volleyball player, and this is a volleyball hotbed here in Muncie with Munciana and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know what her future path will be, but my wife and I financially are hoping that she chooses to go to Ball State, but she'll make her own decisions and figure it out.
Sure.
But it sure would be cool seeing her staying here in Muncie.
Isn't the Burris coach the volleyball coach now?
You used to be. Shondell was, and he retired a few years back, and actually went back to Burris and coached the team this year. And I think he ended up retiring recently. But you want to talk about a legend in the coaching ranks in Muncie. The Shondell family is in, their name. Don Shondell, who coached our men's volleyball program, his name is on the outside of the practice court that we built on the north end of the arena. So you talk about some legends: Earl Yestingsmeyer golf, Don Shondell volleyball. We've got a gentleman named Bill Richards, who our tennis coach, men's tennis coach, and he'll be approaching 50 years here next year. And I mean, you just don't see that somebody coaching a college program for 50 years.
No,
sure. And I can remember also the men's volleyball program when I was there being so good. They were ranked in the top 5 consistently year after year after year. I can remember Penn State came to town, and they were a top 5 team also, and we beat them. I was like a Wednesday night, we partied for men's volleyball on a Wednesday night just because it was so cool to see. But men's volleyball in general is intense, but watching Ball State at that time was still, they were phenomenal to watch.
I tell you what, I contend, and I've said this many times, and some of our most talented athletes on our campus are men's volleyball players. I mean,
I agree.
Those guys have size. They can jump out of the gym. Their hand-eye coordination is insane. And I mean, did you guys watch the Olympics, the men's volleyball in the Olympics?
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like those guys are giants playing on a court that's 5 times too small for them. And the speed of that ball is amazing. But the athletic ability that those volleyball players have it's fun to watch, and it's impressive.
And I think that's one
watching them.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing now Ball State's finally realizing is the facilities. Starting to build some of these facilities up, because for a long time we didn't have the best. So I mean, to be honest here, football did their pro day in the rec center. Not many other schools are doing that, but Ball State's finally realizing, okay, athletes are getting better. We need to provide them with the best, and Ball State's finally building these facilities, kind of like the one you have. And I think it's going to go a long way in your program.
We've been really fortunate here in athletics, and I've seen a transformation. I mean, we've upgraded almost every facility across the board, and we're building I think a $15 to $17 million indoor practice facility for football just north of our golf building as we speak. But it's we're lucky that enough people believe in what we're doing here to jump on board and support us financially when it comes to facility enhancement projects. And we have good leadership at the top, and we're lucky that facilities are kind of really catching up, like you said, with the quality of the product that we're putting out there on the fields and the court.
So speaking of facility improvement, you were there in the 90s as a player. How did you guys train? How did you practice? Kind of what did you do to prepare to train you?
It is so different now. We didn't work out. I remember we ran every now and again in the field and sports building, and coach would be standing there with a stopwatch, just rattling off times, lap after lap. We didn't even have a driving range in town. We actually had a place called Heath Farms, which is out behind the transportation building, just an open field. And we were responsible to bring our own shag bag and hit our own balls and pick them up on an everyday basis. So, there wasn't nearly the physical training that there is right now. And athletically, we just hit balls in a field, and we went and putted and chipped quite a bit, and then we qualified and played for score, and that was what made up the context of our season, outside of competition. So coach was big into the concept of us just having inter-squad qualifiers a lot, and we just competed head-to-head amongst the group of team members. And like I said, 20, 25 guys on a roster, if you got into a slump or you weren't playing good, you were going to get buried at the back of the bus, and it made it really, really tough to get into that top 5 and get into a spot where we were traveling. But golf training is totally different nowadays versus, what it was like back when I was doing it. So
Sure.
Yeah, no, that's and you mentioned it earlier, kind of in the pre-show and whatnot, just the difference between, early 90s to now, and just the size of these athletes playing golf, and it's becoming a much more athletic sport. What do you think for you is the biggest thing, aside from the athleticism, what's the biggest advantage, I guess, that you see the players today have that they didn't have back when you were playing?
They play they play with a lot less fear, and they don't think about the consequences. They'll and they have the ability and the talent to back it up. We played, coach's mantra, and it's on the inside of our golf building even now, is, he was like, fairways and greens. If you hit the fairway and you hit the green, chances are you're going to put up a pretty good number. But these guys nowadays don't. They hit the ball so far, and they can hit it over a lot of the trouble. And it doesn't matter whether the ball's in the fairway or in the rough, or 30 yards left of a tree line. They have that ability to hit the ball, get it back in play and put up some good numbers. So, that's really where the game's changed. But, the way that it has stayed the same is short game's a difference maker. And it's, drive for show, putt for dough, kind of that mentality.
Yeah.
I mean, you still have to get the ball in the hole when you get on the green. And, the guys that can do it more efficiently than the others are the guys that are putting up better numbers.
Mm-hmm. And looking at your roster, you have it very deep in kids from Indiana. So is high school golf in Indiana that deep here as the past few years?
Yeah, that's been the makeup of our program for 50 years. 50 plus years is getting some of the best players from the state of Indiana. And we're, we are super lucky here in the state of Indiana that we have a strong junior golf program through the Indiana Golf Association, and they offer tremendous opportunities to kids, starting when they're peewee level, and then working themselves up through the junior tours and on to the amateur event cycle here in the States. So we're also kind of lucky that in Indiana there's not the volume of college institutions that there are like in Ohio. So it's a lot I don't want to say easier, but we can compete against the IUs and the Purdues every now and again when it comes to recruiting, and we can get some of the its best players. And but you go over into Ohio, there's 5 or 6 MAC schools. Then you've got Cincinnati and Xavier and Ohio State and Wright State and Dayton. I mean, there's a ton of D1 schools over there all fighting for those Ohio kids. And there's just not that many over in Indiana. So we're lucky enough to be able to track some of the state's best players, and it's helped us sustain and find some success along the way.
And looking here, you have a kid, Jack Cunningham from Vincennes.
Yeah,
I spent 2 years at BU down there, and I played golf in those Southern Indiana courses. This kid has to be good because these courses are tough. It's all hills. I mean, it's up, down, up, down. It's brutal. So I'm sure Jack has to be a solid player for you then.
Jack's a good player. He came in his freshman year a couple years ago and played in every event, and has kind of bounced in and out of the lineup the last couple of years. He's an actuarial science major that is going to get his degree in less than 4 years. But no, Jack's a quality player. I think he just played in the Country Oaks Classic there at that golf course down that way and shot 67, 65 and ran away with the tournament. So yeah, we're we have a knack for identifying some of the state's best players, and like I said, our MO is kind of trying to establish a relationship early with them, and hoping that when an IU or a Purdue comes knocking on their door, we've built enough of a relationship, and they've that they've liked enough of what they've seen and have heard about the program to continue to hang on as with Ball State from an interest standpoint.
Sure. So how do you go about identifying these players? Because it's just you and a GA on the staff. So two guys covering an entire state, finding these guys can't be easy.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's just me when it comes to recruiting. I do have a graduate assistant that helps during the academic year. Again, we are lucky because the Ball State family, the golf family, reaches such a far net in the state of Indiana. We have so many guys that played for the programs that are golf pros all over the state, and we have so many guys that still play, in like the state amateur and the state open and those things. So we kind of use that networking, and those guys will, hey, coach, there's this guy down in Evansville you got to keep an eye on, or hey, coach, there's this guy up in Fort Wayne that you got to keep an eye on. And obviously the internet has changed it so much. I mean, you can find everything and anything relative to performance and results and rankings and all that kind of stuff online. But, you still got to get out and watch them. And you got to watch them play a lot to really figure out who they are and what their value system is and, how it'll fit in with, the type of young men that we want representing our program.
Yeah, that's interesting because AJ and I kind of talked about this. I can't imagine there's too much film on a lot of these players. I can, it's not like football or baseball or basketball where, they've got, these guys filming every single week. I mean, these guys are going out and they're focused on that score. So we talked about that, about how much more difficult that has to be for you to schedule these. All right, I got to go watch X player at this tournament. I got to watch this player that like just back to back to back to back. It just seems like a lot more involved in the recruiting process than watching 3 hours of film in the comfort of your home or your office.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that film because I think I could take my 15-year-old daughter and take her out to a golf course and I could edit and paste and cut and make her a highlight video for golf. Get her making a 30-foot putt, get her hitting a 200-yard drive. So you don't, watching a video on a golfer, you don't learn a whole lot other than you can tell fundamentally what they're made of, relative to their golf swing, but you still have to watch them play. There's a big difference going out on a driving range and hitting balls and videoing it and having no consequences and making your swing look really, really good, but not being able to track the ball flight in the video and then going out and competing. And, because the juices, change a little bit, the nerves kick in. I thought Matt Wolf was going to run away with that thing Sunday. He's been played 3 rounds of 6, averaging 6 point more under par per round. Then you just, pressure changes everything.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
You got to watch how those guys react when they're in pressure situations and when they're in a position where they maybe have a chance to win a junior tournament or, catch somebody in the final round. And all those characteristics and identifiable traits kind of blend in together to try to figure out whether, a young man can make it at our level or not.
And it's so funny you bring up that pressure because now I played through the Pepsi Junior Tour growing up and then through high school, junior high and high school. And every time my parents came to watch me, I played terrible. But when they weren't there, I played great. And it got to the point where I'm like, all right, guys, you can't come watch me anymore because I'm shaking everything. I'm missing easy putts. I'm not following through on my swing. I'm turning my head. I'm not coiling around my spine. Like, you guys can't come to watch me anymore. I got to that point. So they finally stopped coming, and my scores got a lot better.
Yeah, golf is one of the few sports where you don't react. Like there's not, every other sport you kind of react to circumstances and situations, and in golf, you could be playing and play 2 or 3 holes and make a couple of pars or a couple of birdies, and then all of a sudden you stand up on that fourth hole and something doesn't fit your eye right, and you're kind of not committing to it, and you hit a drive, 40 yards right. And then for the next 5 minutes from the time you put that driver in your bag, walking to your ball, you're thinking, what the hell's going on? What just caused that? What did I do? And then you get in that panic mode. And then before you know it, you make 3 or 4 more bad swings. And now all of a sudden, that hot start turned into a couple over par and you're trying to figure it all out again. And there's just too much time to think in between golf. And, if you can't handle that and compartmentalize the thought process, and be able to let go bad shots and let go of good ones too, and just execute. You have a real hard time. We work with a sports psychologist. He's got a saying, one after one after one until done. Like that's got to be the mentality with golf. You hit a shot, you go hit the next one, you go hit the next one, you go hit the next one. You add them all up at the end when you're done and see where you are. And sounds simple, but it's hard to do.
Absolutely. And I'd be so curious too to look at the scores from the guys on the tour now with no fans compared to with fans.
Yeah,
I'm sure they have to be drastically lower.
Well, they were referencing it. I think was it Kevin Kisner? Talking about guys. 4 or 5 under now is making. If you're not shooting 4 or 5 under the last couple of weeks, you're going home on the weekend, and scores are going lower right now. So I think they just have that ability. They're locking in. The external distractions are it's just them in the golf course, and guys are so darn talented that it's best players on the planet doing their craft to the best of their ability, and it's awesome to watch.
Sure. So what's your golf game like right now?
My golf game, about a month ago, it was really good because all I did was play golf. We were quarantined, the courses were open. Now I've kind of transitioned. I haven't played as much lately, just got back from vacation. I am getting ready to play in our member guest at Delaware Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but it's not bad. I would give it a B+, maybe a A-, if I can make some putts, but definitely much better than what it is during a normal year where we're out on the road recruiting and watching a bunch of golf and not playing. So I can play well at Delaware Country Club. It's about 6,400 yards. And I know pretty much every blade of grass out there, but if you put me on a 7,000+ yard golf course, I'll freak out and try to figure out how to break 80. Whereas at Delaware, I can play pretty good and keep it closer to 70 more consistently.
There you go.
So you've been with Ball State for 22 years as the coach. Do you have, aside from down there in Muncie, do you have any courses that you love going to watch your players play?
Yeah, I referenced Sycamore Hills. Sycamore Hills is awesome. I don't know if there's a particular course. I would just say I love watching my guys play. I don't care whether it's at the Players Club in Muncie or down in Evansville or over in Ohio. But Crooked Stick is awesome. It's a Pete Dye course in Carmel. There was a golf course in Zionsville called Wolf Run, and it has shut down. But it was one of the most demanding courses in the state, and I really enjoyed watching our guys compete there. There's a place called Victoria National down in Newburgh, in the Evansville area. Amazing golf course, but I really like Sycamore a lot. I like Crooked Stick, and another golf course that's kind of a sleeper and doesn't get a lot of credit is the Brickyard Crossing Speedway. And the uniqueness of that golf course, it's a Pete Dye design, and it's a golf course that could hold its own by design with anybody in the state. But you throw the track in the mix, and four of the holes are inside the track. Just the uniqueness of getting around IMS and playing 4 of those holes inside. And if you're not from Indiana, you don't realize how big the Motor Speedway is, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And when guys walk into the track and they play that first par 3 and they look around and it's like 2 miles from end to end, and I'll pull up this little picture on my phone that has like the Coliseum, Yankee Stadium. You can fit Churchill Downs, and all those fit inside the track together. AJ probably knows what I'm talking about, being an Indiana guy. The track is huge, but the golf course is awesome, and we've hosted 2 MAC championships there over the years, and they've been during that month of May when things start firing up, and drivers are there, cars going around the track, and you see these kids come in that aren't used to that kind of stuff, and they're looking at those cars and seeing the track, and it's a wow factor. Sure. So the Brickyard's a pretty cool place.
Oh, yeah, I've had a few friends who have played in May while they've been testing and things like that, and they forget they're playing golf.
Yeah.
Just because you hear a car going 200 miles an hour to your left, you look over, you go, this isn't normal. It doesn't happen.
We were there in, I think, 2009. I think we hosted it in 2006 and 2009. And I think we were there in 2009. And during the practice round, the drivers come in and they stay inside the track in those mobile homes. They'll drive in and I think the morning of the practice round, Danica Patrick got up and went for a jog, and she was running around the perimeter of the golf course. And I mean, you're talking about 45 males, college kids, like, oh my gosh, there's Danica Patrick running. They're trying to get their best look at her. And but yeah, that's a pretty unique place, and it's kind of a cool place to go play golf.
Because the helipad's right there too off the course, isn't it?
Yeah, it's right there. So
and that being a Pete Dye course, there's one in Culver, Indiana, Mystic Hills.
Yeah,
I play all the time, not being far from there. And talk about a tough course. There's something about Pete Dye courses. They're all the same, but they're all different. It's weird to say like that, but I mean, like the back nine, they have. I mean, I think it's the back nine. I think it's the back nine. It's all woods.
Yeah.
And then you get to the front nine, it's wide open. And so, I mean, his courses. I mean, obviously, he just recently passed a year or two ago, but all of his courses are just incredible, and I love playing. We have the Pete Dye Trail here, so you can pay and go play all of them, which is on my bucket list of things to do.
Iconic golf course architect. And another one that I forgot that I should mention is French Lick Resort down in French Lick. Pete Dye Golf Course. You are up at one of the highest elevations in the state, and you're going around that Pete Dye course, and it looks like you're in the hills in North Carolina. I mean, the views are amazing, and it's a hard golf course too. But Pete Dye in Indiana, there's a ton of Pete Dye courses that are really good.
They are.
So this is a question I ask all of our coaches who have come onto the show. I want to ask you as well. What does it mean for you coaching in the Mid-American Conference?
I tell you what, I'm fortunate. I don't look at this as an occupation. I'm lucky to be coaching at my alma mater, but Mid-American Conference, there's a lot of pride in this league, and we may not get the highest level athletes, because they may be going on to Power Fives and different places around the country. But I tell you what, in the Mid-American Conference, we get the highest level kids. I think, we get kids that are well-rounded. Obviously they take their education seriously. They take the way that they represent their institutions very seriously. And oh, by the way, they want to compete and do it at a level where, they want to be successful. So, being in this league, it's been one of the more stable leagues over the last, especially with the shift of, some of the schools jumping conferences. Our footprint is pretty geographically compact. And that I think adds a lot of attractiveness to our league. And it's amazing. We travel all over the country, and people are aware of the Mid-American. They're aware of Ball State. Especially when we're in our gear, we get the chirps everywhere we go. And but the Mid-American Conference is an awesome league, and I think there's being around the period of time that I have been there's a ton of quality coaches and quality people in the league, and it trickles down, and we have some excellent student athletes and people representing the conference on every level, across the board. And it's, I just thoroughly enjoy being a part of this league.
Now, is there a course, have you played like a PGA Tour course in your career?
Oh yeah. We played a lot. I mean, actually last year, our fall schedule, there was a 3-week stretch where we played Trinity Forest at SMU, which hosted the Byron Nelson. We went up to Erin Hills and played at Erin Hills, which hosted the U.S. Open. And then we were at Crooked Stick the next weekend, which hosted the BMW as part of the playoffs. So we played Muirfield a handful of times. I mean, we've been on to Pinehurst, played Pebble Beach. So these guys, they're spoiled. They have no idea how good they have it. And they're not paying anything, to play these places.
That's huge.
They're getting free travel, they're getting free gear, they're getting free food, and they're playing some of the best golf courses that the country has to offer. And so, we've been lucky enough to be able to play a handful of PGA venues along the way.
That's the same thing I said when I played, is I got to play a lot of courses that I would never pay for. When I played in school, and obviously I was close to Swan Lake as well. And so I don't know if you've played there or not before, but that's 36 holes.
Been recruiting the age group a ton.
Oh yeah. And they have a facility up there, kind of like what you guys have with the indoor driving range, the putting greens, and whatnot across the street. So, I mean, I just grew up there, so I got to play that a lot. I got to play Mystic Hills. We played just a lot of beautiful or was it Walnut Hills, or what's down by or off 69?
Walnut Creek.
Walnut Creek. I've played there. There's one in Peru that I've played that was really nice. Cherry. Yep, Rock Hollow. That's it. Yep. And
we've had a chance. We've been over to Inverness.
Okay.
The Inverness Intercollegiate in Toledo's event, and it's just these guys are fortunate. We played some great. We played Sycamore Hills maybe about three years ago. The week right before they had the Corn Ferry playoff event. Hotel Fitness sponsored the event back then.
Yep.
And so we were there. Frage had us come over the week before the event, and all the grandstands were in place. So we're playing the golf course like it was set up for the playoffs for the Corn Ferry event that was there 4 or 5 days right after us, which was pretty cool.
Sure. I can remember when they did the BMW down in Crooked Stick, because where that location is, and they had to bus people in for parking. There is no parking in that area. And so it was just a zoo from what I had heard. I think I had a few friends who had went, they said it was an hour to the course. By the time you parked and got to the course, it was an hour and a half. Yeah,
that place is embedded in a neighborhood, and there's only a couple ways in and out. It's private neighborhoods, and I remember that event and those guys having to bus in and out. The logistics of it was a little bit of a challenge.
Sure. So what's it like playing Muirfield? I have a few friends who live in that area, and they've played it. They say it's awesome. I mean, it's a very rich golf course.
It's at or near the top of my list of some of my all-time favorites. Believe it or not, we played a college event there years ago. Ohio State was renovating their golf course. So the Kepler went over to Muirfield. And sure enough, Muirfield was redoing their sprinkler system. So there were no yardage plates on the sprinkler heads. And this was before the time of rangefinders too. And so we were just winging it. Like, you had to kind of eyeball it and guess what your yardage was. But, that place is amazing. I get a chance to go over every now and again to the Invitational and walk around and follow the players. And Muirfield's a really, really cool and special place.
Sure. I have a friend who lives on the course, and
I just saw they're going no spectators. I think the PGA
saw that.
That, so that's kind of a bummer.
Sure. Actually, they were originally shooting for spectators.
That was going to be the first one. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And I have a friend who lives on the course, and so during that week, they'd always rent their house out. They'd go live in a hotel for a week or so, but they rent their house out and just pay their mortgage for the rest of the year doing it.
So our connection for that event was through a company called Three Olives, and they had a house on 17, and the same thing. Three Olives would rent this house out, do a bunch of entertaining, having everybody kind of go through the house to enter the golf course, and that was, so when we showed up, I think we parked at maybe a YMCA type facility, like a fitness center, and bust over and parked in front of this house. You go through the house, you grab your meal, drink tickets, whatever it is you want. Then you walk right out and you're right there on 17 green, which is kind of cool.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. And they, they like to have a good time over there in Columbus, Ohio for that event.
I can imagine. They host a lot of great events.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time in Columbus, and I've never been disappointed. So
yeah, that's a good one.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the Cincinnati Reds. So what is your season prediction? It's a shortened season, obviously, only 60 games. I'm of the mindset I'll take a World Series win, even with an asterisk next to it. Where are you at, and what's what's your prediction for the season?
We will be playing in October. That's my prediction.
All right.
The stars are lining up right here. It's a 60-game season. We probably have the best starting rotation that we've had in recent memory. I looked at the schedule today. I think our first game is July 24th against Detroit.
Yep.
We play 9 of our first 11 games at home. So, if we can win, let's just say 10 of those games, I think we've already punched our ticket to the playoffs.
I like it.
So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. I hope it happens. Keeping my fingers crossed. But no, I'm excited to watch them. We've got, like I said, our starting pitchers are really solid. Our everyday batting lineup is as good as it's been.
Especially with the DH now. That's huge for us too, I think, this year.
Yeah, you just, we got to keep our fingers crossed and hope that bullpen, can hold it together. That's the only thing that kind of is iffy. But, if Bauer, Castillo, and Gray, if those guys can go 6, 7, 8 innings, every other time they go out there and throw, I like our chances.
Yeah.
See, I'm a Cleveland guy. So it's great. I love us playing the NL Central. Obviously, it's geographically, close, but being able to play Cincinnati, being able to play St. Louis and Chicago, Milwaukee, it really a lot of teams you don't get to play. So it's gonna be really cool to be able to be, part of all of that and watch those games. And I'm so sad too because my bachelor party is in 3 weeks in Cleveland, and it was supposed to be based around an Indians game. Well, obviously, that's not going to happen. Right. So my brother had to go back and replan and reschedule everything, but it was supposed to be the White Sox were in town, and that's what we were going to do. But a summer without baseball, it's crude. I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Well, I've told this story before. I had the perfect storm. March 26th was Reds opening day, and they were my brother's birthday is March 26th. He lives in Denver. We were off. We were going to be in town. I scored 2 tickets 5 rows behind home plate. I went through Ohio State's baseball coach, Greg Beals, who's a good friend of mine.
Yep.
Was at Ball State. I was going to fly him in from Denver, go down and do the whole Finley Day market parade, go to the game. We had a hotel room that night, stick around in Cincinnati, have some fun after the win. And, obviously COVID changed all that. So,
sure.
But I'm excited that we're getting baseball back, and I'm a huge Reds fan. And man, I wish we would have had your shortstop. Lindor would have been a nice addition.
Oh, it would have been
great. We better give them every dollar we have in our bank account.
There were some serious talks that we had to get him over the summer. So
there's been talks with him going there. Big one's LA, the Dodgers. That's a big talk right now because they have money to blow. Yeah, and the Dolans in Cleveland, they don't spend their money. They never have, never will. Yeah. So.
I was going to say that's just been like Castellini down in Cincinnati. This is the first time he's opened the pocketbook in 10 years. He said, "All right, let's do it. Let's go win a World Series this year. Let's buy everybody." So
and that's the kicker that 60 games. What would have happened if all these guys are on these 1-year contracts and the season happened and all of a sudden they bounce?
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm worried about with Moustakas and Bauer, honestly.
Right. But no, I'm excited. I'm a huge Reds fan. I can't wait. It's one of my strongest passions. Is baseball. I'll tune in to Fox Sports Midwest and probably watch 60 games if they broadcast them all. So,
absolutely. It's going to be weird not hearing Marty Brennaman doing the games anymore, though.
Oh gosh, man, I grew up with Marty and Joe. That's all I knew, and I think my earliest childhood memory would have been maybe in I think it was like 74, 75. Listening to the radio on top of our refrigerator in the kitchen with my dad, Hank Aaron tying the home run record against Cincinnati. He hit 714. And I mean, I was just barely as tall as a kitchen table. And I remember listening to that game and my dad, kind of going crazy because I think he hit 714 against the Reds, and then he broke the record the next night against the Dodgers.
Oh, wow.
In Atlanta, but he tied it against Cincinnati, and just that whole Big Red machine, and growing up watching that wire to season in 90. We don't have a lot of winning memories with being a lifelong Reds fan, but the ones that we have are really, really awesome.
Yeah, sure. Special.
I'm a Browns fan, so I get that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I get it.
Well, I'm a Bengals fan on top of a Reds fan, so it's it's been a life of misery relative to
Joey Burrow's going to turn it around for you guys, though.
And I hope so. We've had such a unlucky run of number 1 picks. I hope he turns it around.
Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of the Reds, did you get to watch the junior documentary on the MLB Network?
I haven't seen that yet.
It's on YouTube.
Is it?
Yeah, so I watched it the other day, and I didn't realize his roots ran that deep in Cincinnati, having going to Moeller and things like that. I didn't know any of that.
He was in high school when his dad was part of the Big Red Machine.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, yeah, he grew up in Cincinnati. Pete Rose had a kid go through the high schools in Cincinnati area. Mm-hmm. And, I remember watching his dad play with that Big Red Machine. And, you know, it was awesome when Griffey made the, you know, when he went from Seattle to Cincinnati, and
Sure.
you know, one of the clean guys in,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know, that's legit, you know, relative to that time frame. So
Sure.
you gave me something to watch tonight.
There you go. Yeah, it's only like an hour and a half, but it's on YouTube. So
I'm
Yeah,
gonna check it out.
Phenomenal documentary.
it's really
Yeah.
good.
I'm gonna check it out.
So,
So
Coach, that's all I have.
So yeah, Coach, thank you so much. This, learned a lot about Ball State golf. We definitely excited. We'll be checking the standings as you guys come back. We're looking forward to seeing you guys kick it off this next year. And thank you so much for joining us.
Well, it's always good spending time with a couple of Mac guys, and Alex, AJ, thanks for having me. And
Of course.
look forward to staying in touch.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Next time I'm in town, we'll go to get a beer at Savages or something.
Look me up. I'm all for it.
Absolutely, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
guys.
Coach.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
Take care. You too.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. AJ, I learned a lot about some Ball State golf. Lot of cool history there, honestly.
Yeah, I didn't know either.
Yeah. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Looking forward to bringing you the August one and the rest of the Year of Maction segments. So, a couple things. Just be sure to follow us on Twitter. You can find us at College Sport Pod. We'll be posting this episode, some more stuff, gearing up for some college football later on this year. Make sure that you follow our Beard cousins over at Beard Brothers Fantasy Football. You can find them on Twitter as well at Beard Brothers FF. And we finally launched our collective Twitter account, and you can find that at 4BS Network. And it's the 4 Beardsmen Sports Network, so you guys can find us there as well. Follow AJ at Roughing55 on Twitter. You can follow myself at SheerDumbLuck. AJ, do you have anything else to throw out there?
I am hungry, man. I got to get dinner going.
That sounds like a pretty good idea. So cool, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in.
And also, I think you and I, as of now, are scheduled to do a show together Sunday.
Our first in-person together show. It'll be exciting.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of the plan as of now, tentatively.
Yes.
But if we can get that taken care of, that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
See you.